Bitcoin is money, and to try and get it as money, we need to cross the chasm into medium of exchange. Adopting Bitcoin is trying to get across the message that medium of exchange is imperative. Adopting Bitcoin is focused on that. It's focused on getting all the builders, building the tools to allow it to be used as money. My vision for Bitcoin is that it's going to be a big hyper Bitcoinized world, and we need to build a new monetary system on top of that. So we need all the brightest minds, we need the biggest workers, people with the highest amount of energy to be attracted to this place and to be attracted to conferences like Adopting Bitcoin.
Charlie, so great to have you back here.
It's an absolute pleasure to be here in front of you.
I can't believe you were telling me it was almost a year ago when we did this. It feels like it was just yesterday. You were sitting across from me. We were talking about all the cool stuff in Berlin.
Oh, it's been a very quick year here in El Salvador. Yeah, a lot of stuff has happened though, packed into that year.
So catch me up on what's going on in Berlin. You're still there, right?
Yeah, okay. Still in Berlin. I just came down from Berlin today to San Salvador. So when we were last on, we were building quite a bit. I'm not sure if we had the Bitcoin Center.
You guys were you had it and you were in the process of painting and fixing everything up, and yeah, so that's in process.
That's an integral part of Berlin at the moment. We're building a lot inside there. There's a lot of opportunity for young guys who are coming out of school. So thankfully, there's been some people that have helped out with computers and stuff like that. So anybody who comes to the center can access computers.
Awesome.
We just have this 18-year-old who's come in and he's learning how to produce. And he's just gotten enough work that's earned him like nearly double a minimum salary at the age of 18, which is a lot, like for an 18-year-old. But it shows if someone shows dedication and wants to hang around in the center, they have an opportunity.
No, for an 18-year-old, just to land the job that pays the minimum salary a lot of times is tough. So to find something where he's making double that, that's amazing.
So there's over 130 merchants now who are accepting. It's
130.
Over 130 merchants, which is mad. And we're seeing a lot of people just using it day to day across the town. And we're trying to get for more nuanced or more niche vendors who are coming from the outskirts, who are coming to sell their whatever, lemons, oranges, their produce from the cantones to accept Bitcoin. We've got this guy who just is selling raw milk from Don Fila, who is a bunch of cows who go up, and him and his wife dish out their bags of raw milk, and we pay sats for the raw milk. It's pretty cool to be there. It's quite agricultural still on the outskirts, and seeing Bitcoin being implemented is massive. I'm starting a program. We're on week 4 now for a 12-week entrepreneurial program. Looking around, and there was a lot of people coming up to Berlin, a lot of people interested in what was happening, the project, thanks to Bitcoin Beach on publicizing on the donations, on all of that, being able to put the spotlight on this new circular economy that was occurring in El Salvador. We've seen a huge amount of growth, a huge amount of interest. And I found that
when you say growth, is this more like internally, like the locals? Is this foreigners showing up and wanting to spend sats? I mean, what do you talk about when increased interest?
In many different, it's multifaceted. Okay. In many different interest ways. The community itself, the community of Bitcoiners who are arriving there, that's growing continuously. The people who are
to live, like they're coming there to live, and this is home base for them.
A lot of
I figured that would happen just because you got the great climate there, the cost of living's lower. It's kind of the perfect sized town. You have like the supermarket, but it's not like a crazy big city. Like it's got a lot of things going for it.
It's also 2.5 hours away from the city, so you feel like you're a little bit hidden.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people who want to feel like they're not in the firing range. I don't know if that's the correct term, but in the middle of
Yeah.
like all the tourists coming in, it's a bit more separated. So you have people who are signing 5-year leases, and they're not afraid to invest in like remodeling the areas, turning it into a little business. We've got a woman who's just come in and signed a lease, demolished part of the area, and she's turning it into a retreat center, which is great. You know, it just shows people who are dedicated to the cause there in Berlin. So it's grown in terms of the Bitcoin community, but it's also growing in terms of people's interest in what we're doing. I mean, we've become a big part of the town because Berlin didn't experience that much tourism beforehand. The fact that we had just a huge influx of like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of tourists in the last year, the local town hall, all the major business owners know that it's like a big driving force for the town. So even in terms of getting permission to use the main square or anything politically related, it's not really a problem because they
So
understand.
they're all on board now.
They seem to be on board. I mean,
Okay.
obviously there's a lot of individuals who have their reservations, a lot of people who are, I mean, it's normal. It's normal when a lot of new people come into the town. It's like, what are they doing?
Yeah,
What like
yeah.
what's up with this going on? But generally, the consensus is positive. So that's fantastic. So to finish my point is, I saw that there's a lot of new tourists coming in, and you've got a Western taste, and businesses could really take advantage and provide quality products for those Western tastes, but don't have the experience or haven't been exposed to those tastes. So the idea was to start a program where we could lay out a business for all of these guys. They already have businesses or want to set up businesses. How do you understand the Bitcoiner market? How do you understand the tastes of them? How do you project your own business? How do you make a business plan? How do you ultimately, what I want is, I want to bring capital into the
Yeah.
town. I want to be able to build capital markets. But to be able to do that, you need to appease to those who have capital. And we've got a new fresh form of capital that's entering the country, and that's in the form of Bitcoin, not in the form of banks, where usually people had to funnel everything through banks. And I think the Bitcoiner or someone who saves in Bitcoin in general, has a different view on the world and has a different tendency to spend and to invest. So if you're a business who's up and coming and you've got really good idea, specifically if you want to target serving Bitcoiners, how do you approach someone who is highly capitalized with Bitcoin? How do you present your business adequately so that they have enough trust to invest at least a portion into? So it's about being transparent in terms of your presenting your sales, being able to make a business plan, being able to pitch your business, to be able to understand the tastes of Bitcoiners. So all of these things over the course of the 12 weeks. So at the end of the 12 weeks, they are able to present their business in a Shark Tank sort of scenario,
Awesome.
and they can try and raise a bit of capital from even the local Bitcoiners there who have a bit of capital, and potentially people from outside that want to see Berlin succeed.
That's amazing. So when are you guys doing that?
That's all. We're all in 4th week. Today, I've done the first 3 classes. I've presented those, and today Gerardo is going to do business planning for the businesses. So yeah, we've had some good attendance. We've got some usuals there, and it's looking really good.
So when are you going to have the pitch day when they're
8
trying
weeks
to? 8
from
weeks.
now.
Okay.
Yeah, 8 weeks from
All
now.
right. So we'll have to make sure we try to get the word out and drive some people there.
Yeah, no, it's
that
gonna
will
be a
be-
nice event. They'll be nice and nicely trained to
Yeah.
present themselves.
That's
So-
awesome. No, it's such a huge need. We were talking a little bit offline before just about how it's people trying to have to adjust to this new clientele, and we found, like, with painting is just one example. And sometimes people get frustrated because they feel like, oh, the people here do shoddy work and they're not. It's like, no, in most of Latin America, they value function over form. Like, for them, paint is just to protect the material. And so if it slops on the ground, or if it slops over the fixtures on the wall or whatever, that's just more the better. Like, it'll protect that too. And so, Americans get very frustrated. They're like, they're like, no, they think you want them to do a quick, cheap job because that's what usually they want. But
previous clients have
yeah,
wanted that.
but usually Americans, Europeans, Australians, they oftentimes value form over function, and so they They want to, and I'm borrowing. I had somebody else. I was listening to another podcast, and they were explaining that in these terms. I was like, "Oh, that's great." So I'm stealing their format.
The function
But
over form,
yeah,
form over function. Yeah.
because I was like, that's such a concise way to put it. This thing I'm always trying to explain to people, but it's exactly that. Because I've gone through the frustration where it's like you come back and you're like half the paint's on the ground, and there. So I have a on our
Confused.
crew we have a couple guys that paint, and the other guys think that they're like, oh my gosh, they're so slow, and they're like they're lazy or something. They're like, no, they're precise, and they're taping everything. They're doing it the way they want, that we want. And so a lot of times it's not that there's a right and wrong way. In their mind, it's like, what does it matter? The paint's there to protect the items. Why do you care if it's splattered everywhere?
Right.
But obviously we have different views. We want everything to be nice, straight lines. And so it's not a right or wrong. It's just a different way. And so
Well, the client is always right.
yes,
Or the customer is
the customer is
right.
always right, but they're not used to customers that want that. And so that's the trying to train them that like, hey, you can actually charge double if you can, because nobody else can do this kind of work. And so if you can do it the way they want it, you can charge more, you can make more, you can invest more in your company. And so I love that you guys are doing that training. Same thing with like hostels or like accommodations, what the level of cleanliness they think is, or what you need in a room, those small things like, hey, you just do a few extra things, you can charge twice as much.
Oh, exactly. And maybe they're not a lot of the people who have been here for many years, who've lived there their whole life, are not used to all this fresh new capital, new customers coming in.
And they're not used to people being willing to pay twice as much to have a little bit nicer room. But especially for a cheap room, if it's $10 versus $20, people are much willing to pay $20 if it's a little cleaner and they have their own bathroom, or little things like that.
Yeah.
That in the past maybe there was no market for. So.
Yeah, and I believe this will happen anyways. It's just that if with a bit of guidance, I think it's just a catalyst of businesses picking this up and making things a bit more efficient.
Well, and that's why even a lot of expats are finding that they can come in and be successful as entrepreneurs here in El Salvador because they understand that mindset. And so they can kind of cater to that crowd that's willing to pay a lot more to have those services. And sometimes people get upset like, oh, they're taking jobs from Salvadorans. Really, they're not. They're training the Salvadorans on their staff this new way of doing things that they can go in and start their own companies eventually and cater these things. So I always think it's beneficial to the economy as a whole when you bring in outside talent.
Absolutely. And also it's new capital coming in, and they can just imitate the product and then use their own contacts that they have to be able to put whatever business forward. I have a friend, Irish friend, who's also building on 3 acres just not far away from here, just by Tamanike, for a hostel and a sports complex. And that's really exciting. He's been doing that for over 8 months. I'm slightly invested, so I'll be working on that a little bit.
Awesome.
But just like you're saying, I think there's a huge demand for people to come and set up businesses here, set up different ideas, create, build, and not have the scarcity mindset where if someone sets up a business here that's coming from outside, you're not really taking from someone else. You're only giving. Like it's a growing
You're
pie.
raising the whole level. You're and that when the level of service is available, that actually brings more people in, and it kind of just increases the base. And so that's, there's always going to be some people that only look at the negative, but I see it as this is really going to drive the local economy, and the ambitious young people will rise up. They'll see like, wow, this person's charging 3 times what I can charge. What do I need to do? And that'll happen naturally.
Yeah, I was just talking to the Martinez brothers, who are Salvadoreños who've come back, and they've set up a hotel in Playa Las Flores. Only 23 and 19 years old, and they have a Mexican restaurant in San Salvador.
Which Las Flores? The one right by La Libertad, or the one on the other end of the country?
The other end of the country.
Okay.
Yeah, in Surf City.
Down by Punta Manga.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome.
And these guys, you might have had them on the podcast potentially, but they're from Texas. They've lived in Texas.
I don't think they've been on the podcast, but I've talked to them. Yeah, they've come to some meetups.
Super driven, super energetic, focused guys who want to make a difference at Bitcoiners, and it's great to see that. And it's good to have an inspiration, especially for other Salvadoreños who want to make something of themselves. And no, it's good to see. And I feel like over the past year, I've seen a lot of that. I've seen a lot of people come in, add to society. In the last year, we had Economia Bitcoin, which was a small conference in Berlin. That was really
That was
it,
fun.
that
It
was
was a
fun.
fun. It was
Did
a
you
fun.
enjoy it?
Oh man, it was jam packed though. I think
Yeah,
my
we didn't
my my
expect it. Do
my,
you
my
remember we were
only
saying
my
30?
only my only criticism would
Please.
be maybe a few less event. You guys had so many speakers there. It was like
Oh yeah, it was
yeah.
packed. It was packed. Um, Thanks for that
It,
feedback.
it
No,
was
necessary.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's what the first time you do anything, you're like, oh, we should have this person. We should do this and
Get
that.
all
And then you're like,
excited.
actually, most people just want to hang out with each other and chat.
Yeah, people felt a bit like drained. I think.
Oh, it was a
trying to-
long day. I was like, wow, we got more. You just kept going.
So
But it
that
was amazing. You guys did. I mean, it was all first class. You guys did an amazing job.
was great. The production team were really good, efficient, and stuff like that. It was great to see you up there as well. That was the first
That
time.
was my
visiting.
first time I've been to Berlin.
Seeing you with the cowboy
Yeah.
hats really filled my heart with joy. Like, yeah. So, and then we got the farmers market up there, the Bitcoin farmers market, once a month, which is just starting off. So, trying to get as much peer-to-peer Bitcoin movement happening. That's my priority for Berlin. That's my priority
Yeah.
here in El Salvador.
And you feel like that just keeps gaining momentum there.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
There's just more capital floating around. We give people options to cash out, which isn't through Chivo, so Bitcoin stays there. So there's expats who've brought plenty of cash down, and they hold the
willing to buy.
Bitcoin, and then they pay people, employees and stuff
Yeah.
like that in Bitcoin, and it recirculates
Awesome.
back in.
I love that.
So it's bit by bit. I mean, this isn't the thing that happens overnight
No.
whatsoever.
This is
And
a 10-year plan.
yeah, but it's exciting to be in the midst of it and working with Bitcoin on a day-to-day basis.
So are you seeing like some of the like even like the level of accommodations and the level of restaurant choices kind of start to move up to meet this new demand?
Yeah, especially the hotel area. So Economy of Bitcoin, we had to house 70 people in Berlin, which was tough. But places pop out of nowhere. It's mad. Like it comes. You know, the night before I found like 6 new beds or something just to fit the people that wanted to stay. So we're seeing a lot higher quality hotels, different niches. A lot of people learning English, which is great. We've got an English academy there, which is very necessary.
So much more opportunities, especially with online work these days, if you know English.
Oh, for sure. People, yeah. And then in terms of food, well, we have Dave who's selling pulled pork up there, and he's setting up his own area. But also other restaurants popping up, and I'm sure over the next year, 2 years, you're going to see more happen.
So how was it being at that elevation in that thing during rainy season? Was it cold? Was it like cloudy all the time? Do you get tired of it, or do you love it, or what's the?
Yeah, a bit of a reality check. Yeah, the rain is, well, that 5-day stint that we got, which was just constant rain. I don't know if you were here for that, but that was.
Which one? I feel like there's been a few.
It was like a storm that happened at the beginning of rainy season that was just non-stop, and that was. I mean, we're talking about like, if your house isn't built correctly, which a lot of them might not be, you have some water kind of seeping through. You have, things that you might not be used to, like puddles coming through your balcony door and stuff like that. And you just have to.
People don't they just don't understand the crazy amount of rain that. I mean, literally, you'll get 10 inches of rain in one night. I mean, that's like what California gets in a year, and it'll like come here in one night.
It's rivers start to form in the matter of seconds outside your.
I mean,
house.
you could literally like just go out and shower in the rain. I mean, it's that like. I mean, it's just like a downpour for like hours sometimes. So.
Yeah, so it's cold. It's a bit colder up in Berlin for sure, but it's dealable with. I mean, you have to remember I'm Irish, so I've been around rain my whole life.
You feel at home there,
right? But the days that you wake up in the morning and sun is usually there to greet you.
Okay,
so
that's nice as long as you have sun for part of the day.
Exactly, and then you can deal with your depression after 3:00. But yeah, it's grand. The best thing is, Mike, is the community and being able to know that you have people to lean on to chat through things, whatever it is, whether it's Bitcoin related or not, but people who are on the same wavelength as you. And that's the beautiful thing about Berlin. It's like having that companionship, having a brotherhood, and different generations as well working together. So that's kind of cool. different ideas.
And the Bitcoin Center that you guys have built there just keeps growing, and there's more things going on there.
Yeah,
They have the podcast studio up and running, right?
yeah.
I've
Well,
seen some.
we've got to shout out to Nikki and James. We have to
Shout out Nikki and James.
Nikki and James, absolute legends. Both of you, the amount of time and energy that those two have put into the project is just astounding. Specifically, the studio, the detail, the quality of it. I mean, we have an amazing mix board that's been given to us by Bitcoin Beach as well, which has helped us, and we've been able to smash out a lot of content in this new studio, in Spanish and in English. A lot of the local business owners have been able to tell their story in a high quality studio, which they never would have been able to do it. And we all know here how important digital content is in this day and age, and for people to be able to see what's happening. So that's just been a gift from God, which is great. I have my office there, which has been served a great deal. We have a back room which serves as a computer room. People are getting trained up on in call center, accountancy, and stuff like that. We have the classroom, which has English classes. I have the entrepreneurial program there, and anything else. And then we have the main hall where we sell the merch, and we actually set up a cafe as well, and that changed everything. So the center is a hub. And if anybody has a circular economy or thinking about doing it, a center place where people can unite is really important.
Yeah, a physical space is crucial. It really is.
For sure.
We've seen that for sure here in Zonte. Like, it's just crucial to have that physical space. So you did such an amazing job last year running that conference that I hear they dragged you into running something much bigger here this next year.
Yeah, I didn't expect this opportunity to cross my lap, but adopting Bitcoin, which I think it's just an awful privilege to be working.
Oh, I mean, adopting Bitcoin is one of the premier Bitcoin conferences. The fact that they're
in the world,
like Bitcoin only, the way that they bring in like so many speakers and guests. A lot of times you haven't even heard of them before, but they're just doing amazing things. It's not just all like influencers and podcasters. It's people that are out there building and not, obviously I do a podcast, so I'm not bagging on those people, but sometimes, the conferences are too full of that. We need the builders. We need the people that are actually doing stuff. And
that
so
allow you to use it properly. Yeah. Use Bitcoin properly.
Exactly.
I was in Ireland and London looking at adopting Bitcoin, and just like I remember applying to be a volunteer for adopting Bitcoin 2 years ago, and about to come over, and I decided against it. And then I got to speak at adopting Bitcoin last year, and that was an amazing opportunity. I just believe shout out to Kamal, who's a lot of the driving force. Galoy, the company who are behind adopting Bitcoin, but Kamal is the one with the vision and the steadfast on Bitcoin only, and that really adds to the quality of the conference. I believe the fact that how disciplined it is in terms of keeping it Bitcoin only and getting the right content out and allowing for people to call for participation, for people to apply and try and get a message out of what they're doing. So
no, he's amazing. Even a lot of the stuff at Bitcoin Beach, he's had a huge impact behind the scenes. You don't know, he's not out front, but he's behind the scenes making things happen.
Yeah,
and he's helped us a lot in the past. So he's
utmost respect for that man, and it's allowed for our job to be, for it to be a very clear runway, let's say, for the conference. And it's going to be a different vibe this year. It's in a different venue. It's going to be about builders. I mean, the whole theme is crossing the chasm. I think that's correctly said. Chasm. Crossing the chasm. And the idea is that we are going to a different stage of Bitcoin adoption. Like we're 15 years into Bitcoin, and we've verified now it's a great store of value, a good reserve asset. I mean, worldwide, we've seen in Nashville, we have all the politicians backing it, and they can see that a lot of people are holding it and value it and want sovereignty and being able to buy Bitcoin easily and mine Bitcoin easily. Bitcoin is money, and to try and get it as money, we need to cross the chasm into medium of exchange. And a lot of people still are stuck in the idea that we can use dollars, which we can use dollars, of course we can, but adopting Bitcoin is trying to get across the message that medium of exchange is imperative.
Well, that's why Bitcoin has value, because it can be used as a medium of exchange. Like without that, it's worthless.
If
And
you
that's what people. I don't understand this fight between store of value and medium of exchange. Like it's both. Like, and they both work synergistically on each other.
right? It's like,
And any dollars you choose to hold instead of Bitcoin, you have that opportunity cost of not holding Bitcoin with those dollars. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Oh, why would I want to spend my Bitcoin? I'm going to spend my dollars. Well, why don't you just get rid of all your dollars now and put them in Bitcoin, then spend your Bitcoin? Like
yeah, and the answer is a lot of the times a friction imposed by the regulators.
yeah,
Right.
but I don't even feel, I get that for Americans,
Right.
but outside of that, or even when people come down to El Salvador and you're spending the legal tender, the same as if you were in Canada and spending the Canadian dollar and you convert to that, like, but they still, I don't know, they've like sunk into this like hodl mentality, which I think is actually harmful for Bitcoin.
Yeah, maybe at the start when people thought it as a trading asset, hodl might have been a good rule of thumb
Yeah.
initially, but we're maturing as a whole movement in general, and I believe El Salvador is at the edge of the sword of that maturity of being able to see Bitcoin as the next form of money. So adopting Bitcoin is focused on that. It's focused on getting all the builders building the tools to allow it to be used as money. My vision for Bitcoin is that it's going to be a big hyper Bitcoinized world, and we need to build a new monetary system on top of that. So we need all the brightest minds, we need the biggest workers, people with the highest amount of energy to be attracted to this place and to be attracted to conferences like Adopting Bitcoin and to work on this. Because from my own experience, from someone who was traditionally in the other financial system in the midst of it, and to have stepped out of it, and now I'm organizing this conference.
Oh, that's right. I forgot that you had worked in traditional finance before.
Yeah,
That's where you
it's
started.
that's my background, and to now be working fully in Bitcoin, I can truly say it brings a lot of purpose to one's life. And if you might lose out on the income initially, or but it's keeping that long time preference of like this is what it's for. I mean, you are working on something that's going to change the face of humanity eventually. That's my belief. And adopting Bitcoin is the location where people come together and share their ideas with that, right?
Yeah.
That's the aim.
No, the fact that it was born here in El Salvador, as part of the right after it became legal tender.
Yeah.
The way that it's grown now, the conferences and other places around the world. I know.
Yeah, so South Africa as well, Cape Town.
Yeah, and so we work quite a bit with Herman and Bitcoin Akasi there, and so I remember when he was first talking about wanting to do a conference, and I'm like, dude, do you know how much work that is? And he's like, no, we need a conference here, and then he was telling me that he was in talks with the folks at Adopting Bitcoin to maybe like partner up. I was like, oh, that'll be amazing, because they've already, gone through all this. They know what it takes to make it work.
To be able to,
yeah.
Wow. Well, it's convincing me to try and go over to Cape Town and check it out.
Dude, it is beautiful. I mean, one thing, South Africa is one of the most beautiful countries out there, but especially the Cape Town region. But what they've done at Bitcoin Akasi, and just, I mean, such a unique environment to see Bitcoin thriving, in the township there, that last place you would think to see it. So yeah, you should definitely go.
Yeah, and especially a place that the government isn't allowing it to be. But obviously they step back a little, they don't intervene. But it's not going to be as easy as it is. In Berlin, for example, anybody can download a Lightning wallet, and they have this amazing president who has changed the face of their future. That's back in Bitcoin. So you've got a lot of advantages being here in El Salvador with regards to Bitcoin as money. In South Africa, that's not the case. So all the more respect for Herman and for what they're doing at Bitcoin Akasi and all the other circular economies, which I know Bitcoin Beach are playing a huge part to play. with that in terms of the support and seeing them grow and stuff like that.
No, that's definitely our passion. That's where we feel, that's how we feel Bitcoin is going to take over the world. It's really going to be these grassroots efforts by the people that really need it, because they've been locked out of the traditional financial system, or they've been, really on the losing end of the system that we have now. And so this is something that levels, and we feel like, and we're seeing it. It's like every week I hear about a new project somewhere. It's awesome. Now we're working with dozens of them all over the world. So it's been a very exciting last year, seeing all this. Like every time you think like, oh, maybe, we've done all this, and you wonder if it's going to like lose momentum, but it just feels like it's like, no, we're at like the very beginning of that curve, that it's just going like parabolic. And so I feel like that's how it is with a number of new circular Bitcoin economies that we see popping up. And and obviously there's, we want to support and help all these, and you got to kind of suss out which ones are authentic, and you find very few like true just scammers. In fact, I don't know if we've had any like that. You do have sometimes some unrealistic people that don't understand how much work it's going to be, and they're like, oh, we're going to do this, and you realize they don't even know the people in the community, and they don't understand all the groundwork and everything like that. So we spend a lot of time kind of vetting, but we found a lot of great projects to be able to walk alongside. So that's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'd say so. And the learning steps that you find from speaking to these different communities. Every community is different, I'd say, and their needs and how they use Bitcoin. And there's more economies that pop up. I think the stronger the whole movement gets. But we want to be able to highlight that at the conference. We want to be able to highlight the circular economies. We want to, because these circular economies, as you say, they've been locked out of the banking system, which usually isn't the Western world and isn't the people who see Bitcoin as a store of value asset. It's intuitively more as a medium of exchange for a lot of these circular economies. So getting to hear their stories is really, really important.
Well, for a lot of them, they don't even have the luxury to even be thinking of store of value right now. They really are just focused on day-to-day being able to live and transact. But the amazing thing is, once they start using Bitcoin, then you do see them actually start to save, because they're always considering the opportunity cost of every purchase, because they could hold on to those sats. And so they only spend the bare minimum. So it's one of those things that really just naturally brings financial education to somebody without having to give them any formal training.
Whereas it's not as intuitive to take out as much debt as you can and buy productive assets and pay back that debt. And even if it is intuitive to you, you might not have the chance to access that credit.
Most of the people here don't have that opportunity. The system works very well for people who have access to credit and can do that, but that's not the vast majority of the world.
Yeah.
So tell me what you're excited about for the conference this year. What's going to set it apart? This is your first year, so you're going to have to like leave your mark on this. You're going to have to like step it up a notch.
Big time.
There's a lot of pressure.
No, I feel it. I feel the pressure, but pressure makes diamonds, right?
Yes,
No,
yes.
no, it was too cheesy. Right. Adopting Bitcoin is in a new venue this year. So it's usually been at the Hilton Hotel or at the Sheraton. It's been in closed areas. So now it's in an open space. I mean,
that building in the back, you can't tell from this picture, but that is a ginormous building. That's where they had my daughter's graduation party. They had 1,600 people at the graduation party in that building. It is ginormous.
It's a capacity of about 3,000 people total. There you go. That's kind of a
that's
better
just
idea.
One part of it.
That's
has a
just
whole
the
mezzanine area.
Front third, right? So this place is closed, but you've got like massive windows on either side of the stage, so it gives an open feel, and you're surrounded by hills, hills filled with green. So it's a spectacular venue. You've got a picnic area here. We're going to have food trucks lined over here, dishing out really high quality food. Just where you see that building, Mike, there are workshops right beside the toilet. So you're going to have 2 workshops where people can see how Bitcoin is used on a hands-on level. And we've got some really, really good teachers for that who've called for participation who want to show how do you store it safely, how do you use it correctly. And we're going to have a combination of theoretical, philosophical talks and then hands-on approaches, which I'm really, really excited for. You've on the right-hand side here, you've got Hall 2, which we can't see, but that's a beautiful, beautiful hall, which is open.
It's all glass, right?
All glass. And that's going to be the open source stage. That's about 400 people who are going to be there. We've got loads of different other aspects to the conference as well that haven't been present in previous years. We have an idea of doing Bitcoin para niños for families. So if you have kids and you're worried that they're going to be nagging you for the whole time, you can offload them. No, I like that's a bit indifferent, but you can show them to the Bitcoin para niños where they're going to be. It's going to be an interactive space for them while they're also going to be learning about the principles of Bitcoin. You've got the expo area in Hall 3, which is a large hall, and we're going to have some activities outside. Like people have been demanding more physical activities like hanging or table tennis. So we're going to have a bit of that going on. We have the exhibition area where you're going to have all of the Bitcoin businesses that are working on Bitcoin, specifically Lightning, obviously, because it's what we use here. Local Salvadoreño businesses like K1, Tianki, Dido Banks will be present. We have, a lot of businesses who want to be present in Bitcoin circular economies in the exhibition area. We also have an art exhibition. Before we had art exhibitions, but it was a bit out of the way. This time it's front and center. And there was an art exhibition area in Bitcoin Prague, which was headed by Fractal Encrypt, who has some really beautiful pieces. They are now taking charge of the art exhibition this year.
Oh, nice.
And they know what they're doing, let's say. They know what they're doing. And it's front and center. As you go into the main hall, you're going to the main stage, you go through the art exhibition area, and you're going to be able to see all the amazing Bitcoin art that's being produced today. It's going to be a really, really good conference. We already have over 70 people who've tried to participate to speak. So among those, we have Max and Stacy who will be joining us, and they will be showing the people what it looks like to be coming to a country for Renaissance 2.0. We've got plenty of speakers from Pierre Rochard who will be talking about mining. Here, this is just a photo of the circular economy. So you have people like Dusan Matuska, Herman from Bitcoin Economy coming, and other circular economies trying to show people.
Andrew's going to be mad at you for picking that picture of him. His eyes closed.
I hope he doesn't watch this episode. I'm going to offload the responsibility to Andre. I didn't pick the picture, so no, sorry, Andrew. And yeah, so we have a bunch of amazing speakers who are coming, who are going to show their experience on Bitcoin, and it's going to range from philosophical talks, technical talks about coding itself, people growing Bitcoin circular economies. We're going to have hands-on workshops, Bitcoin for kids, how to educate people on Bitcoin. So it's a very wide range of talks from people who have done the work.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I'm really excited. It's going to be a very fun event. We're prioritizing flow, high quality food, and also one other thing.
Yeah, because that was the one last year. The food was better, but the first year the food sucked. At adopting Bitcoin, I was telling them that's the one thing that they're like, we had to use the hotel's food. They couldn't. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No, that's a priority. So, I mean, that's
I was giving
important.
Nora a hard time about it. I was like, I bought that hamburger. I had to throw it away. How do you screw up a hamburger? So good food.
Yeah,
I'd love
good
to
food.
hear that.
But Nora, the food was decent last year.
Yeah, the food was decent last year. There was a huge improvement.
Yeah.
But I think just bringing food trucks in, there's some great food trucks here in El Salvador.
Let the free market show us what is the best food. So they're going to be coming in. And then we have a privileged access area for people who want to have a bit more of a bespoke experience and don't want to have to pay for food during the course of the two days and want to be able to meet one-on-one with the speakers and sit down and have a really good view of the main stage, lounge. They have 2 TVs. a concierge service, they can purchase a privileged access ticket. So it's about $1,000, and the price is going up at the end of this month to $1,250. So it's a good opportunity to get that on.
Well, and the great thing is those people subsidize the cost for everybody else, because
Right.
the reality is these things are expensive to put on.
They are.
And so when you can get, when you have people that are willing to spend a little bit more, it actually makes it more accessible for everybody else.
Exactly. The more people who get to see what's happening here in El Salvador, I feel the better. So yeah, privileged access is a good opportunity. It's something new this year. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. There are also side events going on among after and before adopting Bitcoin. So obviously, Me Premier Bitcoin are holding their unconference. They have a graduation the day before, I believe. So if you are thinking of coming over to El Salvador, I recommend booking before.
You got to make a week of it.
You have to,
definitely.
Yeah, at least a week, if not
Yeah.
2, if you can. So Me Premier Bitcoin have it on the 13th and 14th, and then at the end of the 14th we have a film festival. So the idea of the film festival is the inauguration of a film called Dirty Coin. Dirty Coin is focused on Bitcoin mining, and it's focused on policy decision makers, and it's showing how it can stabilize the grid. And they had inauguration in Nashville. They had a showing, and we'll have another showing. It'll be in the Anthropological Museum in San Salvador. So people are going to be able to access that. If you have a privilege access ticket, you'll be able to have a free ticket to the film festival.
Awesome.
That's gonna be great. Then after the film festival, we have a speakers dinner just beside the film festival in a really lovely restaurant called El Cholo in San Salvador. And for anybody wondering, San Salvador is building at a rapid rate, so you're seeing a lot of different businesses pop up and different tastes being catered for. So this is just one of them, one restaurant that's really good. After the 14th, then we have the 2 days. We're getting Tony Vase. He's a poker player and tournament director. He loves his poker tournament, so we're going to have poker being played in the exhibition hall as well for SATs. So for people who are interested in playing a bit of poker and seeing what it's like to play.
Is that during the conference?
During the conference, from 4 to 8 on day 1, and a final table on day 2. And we're going to have a mini stage in the exhibition hall as well for authors. So if you are an author and you want to promote your book, specifically if it's designed for Bitcoin or Austrian economics or anything related to that, this is a really good chance to show your book, do some signings, demonstrate what you have. We have some good authors. Diana, I don't know if you've met. Diana, she is leading the authors corner.
Okay, awesome.
Diana has the shells to Satoshi's book that's come out recently enough.
Yeah. She was here at one of the meetups, kind of reading some sections of it and stuff a few months ago.
Yeah. So, she's great in terms of, she's an intellectual powerhouse, Diana, in fairness.
Her and her husband, they're both on the podcast here, and I could have chatted with them for hours. I mean, just very sharp. Super
interesting. So she's going to lead the authors corner, and that's going to be a place where you can ask questions to the authors to figure out more about the book or ask them about anything you want. So there's a lot of different things happening in the conference. It's going to have a new feel. El Salvador has changed a lot over the course of the year, so even if you've come last year, it's great to check up on what's happening. And the people that have come to live here and have started to build here is also a really interesting aspect. That's another thing that people discount. So that's kind of the summary.
I know that venue is a little bit outside of the city. Like, what are you guys providing transportation from the hotels, or?
Yeah.
And I'm assuming that stuff's all on the website, but just in case people haven't
checked the website.
There.
Absolutely. Thanks, Mike. So we have the 3 different locations where buses are going to be leaving from. There are several hotels across San Salvador, but one of the main ones are the Hilton, the Sheraton, the Hyatt, the Marriott's, and Holiday Inn. These are big enough hotels. And then you have a lot of people who stay around El Escalon and San Benito in Airbnbs. So we have a exit position, a pickup area in El Escalon, close to the Hilton.
Okay.
We have another pickup area by the Sheraton, which is in San Benito,
Mm-hmm.
and another pickup area by Gran Via, which is beside the Hyatt and the Marriott.
Yeah.
And there's going to be buses leaving there from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. on both days of the conference, every hour pretty much
Okay.
going from there. So that'll be provided. That's all included if you want to get to the conference. Obviously, people will be staying in different areas, and you can get an Uber. And there'll also be a minibus going from Zonte as well if you decide to
Okay.
stay by the beach
Sweet.
as well. So the
Perfect.
logistics, obviously, it's a bit out of the way. So we've catered for that, made sure that
Yeah.
that's covered. Also, if day 3 is a great opportunity to come down to El Zonte, check it out. It's pretty cool. It's lovely. I mean, very. I don't have to say it. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah, you don't have to sell that. Everybody's ready for it to come visit Bitcoin Beach.
Yeah.
So, and of course, we'll have a bunch of stuff that we're putting on, food festival and a bunch of different things here. You can spend your sats on great food and come do some surfing.
Yeah, and then you have Roatan, which is a place in an island in Honduras where they're building a city pretty much. I mean,
Yeah.
it seems like it's
Prospera.
It's
Yeah.
a 50-year lease, it seems like, and they have a lot of interesting experiments going on. I'm relatively ignorant as to the depths of it, but Bitcoin is allowed to be a unit of account over there, and there's going to be a retreat organized. It's pretty much already organized. People can go from Tuesday to Friday after the conference. They can get flights over to Roatan, and they get a fully inclusive package where they get to go.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, they get to see it, the whole shebang. They're going to be catered for. Just wait for the details. It's a really good opportunity to see another area. They've got an amazing Bitcoin center there. They're doing things a little bit different, so it's something.
Is Dusan helping with that?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Dusan.
So we've had he's led some education stuff with our staff and other staff here, and then also had him on the podcast. So that's I got to find out a lot about Prospera during that podcast. I was kind of fascinated.
It's an interesting project. Hey, Dusan. Yeah, I was at the educating for educators as well, which was great.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you were there.
No, it was great. It was great. He's really switched on individual and doing a lot for Bitcoin.
Oh, yeah.
So if you're interested in this private city idea of sovereignty as a city, then Roatan is a great opportunity. So that's going to be there. And then obviously up to Berlin. I'm biased, but you need to check Berlin out, what's happening there.
So I hope you've handed some of those responsibilities for putting that on to somebody else. So you're going to just be running ragged, running from there up to Berlin.
I've been trying to, like, it keeps falling back on the lap. The weekend after is the idea when people can come. The weekend after, if you're still around, Berlin will be buzzing. If you want to come up during the week, there'll be a lot going on in Berlin. I mean, just check out the center, see what it's like. It's fresher up there. If you're thinking of coming to live in El Salvador, which I'm sure a lot of people are, it's an extremely diverse country from what I've learned. And the beach to the mountains, it's a world. They're worlds apart. They really are. You can go to Sulutan, which is completely different.
Well, the crazy thing is how close they are. It's literally you can drive half an hour and be from like beach climate to like coffee country, cool climate. I mean, it's
wake up cold.
Yeah.
You know, it's completely different. And even the people like treat you different. They might look different.
Yeah.
Like there's certain towns where people are just all white, but they just speak Spanish around Chalatenango. I mean, it's a very diverse country. So you don't have to live in a certain place where everybody has said. It's come and explore. And the beautiful thing about Berlin is the community as well, obviously. So yeah, there's so much packed into 1 week for adopting Bitcoin. It's an amazing place to be. It's an amazing place to see everything grow. And I'm looking forward to showing people more what it's like.
No, it's going to be amazing. So people, buy your tickets now because they're not going to get any cheaper.
Exactly.
They're
unless Bitcoin skyrockets. But $300 at the moment. There's loads of discount codes.
Come on, you can't quote prices in dollars here. I'm gonna, you gotta quote them in sats.
Right.
Here.
Okay. Let's get it out. Okay, we're gonna multiply this by like 300,000.
You just got to price everything in sats. You just set it at sats. Then they know even if Bitcoin goes up that it won't help them. So they better buy now because it's going to cost more sats in the future. See, that's what you got to do.
Like, it's annoying because I know you're right. So we're on 450,000 sats at the moment, guys. And they're gonna get more expensive. At the end of the month, it goes up every time. So get your flights, buy your tickets. Salvadoreños, if anyone from Salvador, it's $21 as a Salvadoreño, so it's a great opportunity to come. If you are a resident in El Salvador, you also get a decent discount as well. So check out the website. If you want to have a talk, try and call for participation. There's a lot of people working on Bitcoin in different areas, but we are focused on Bitcoin, solely on Bitcoin as a medium of exchange. And we're going to try and get that message across.
How many people do you have that want to come shill their token?
Oh my God.
Or do they know know well enough not to?
Yeah, they just try and dissimulate it, like disguise it in other ways, try and, it's built on Bitcoin. We're not trying to sell anything, we're just building, which is just so funny, the angles people are trying to take. And usually the ones who have their own tokens are the most incentivized to shill it, so they're so persistent on trying to convince you. But if you're trying to issue something that's infinitely reproducible and try and put a market value on it, you are destroying capital. That's the nature of shitcoins. That's the nature of BRC20 tokens. That's the nature of ordinals. So you might, think you're innocent, but if you're trying to promote these coins, there's a lot of people who are ignorant as to the background behind it. A lot of people who don't understand the way the nuts and bolts of the financial world works, and a lot of people who put these things in the same bucket as Bitcoin, and it slows down Bitcoin's adoption massively. So
100% agree. 100%.
So if you're planning on coming and shilling your token, don't waste your time. Don't bother
this
your
is an
whole...
ordinals free zone.
Right, exactly.
All right, I love it.
Yeah, Bitcoin only. We want to see this as our global reserve currency, and for us to be able to use it as money everywhere.
Awesome. Well, I think that's a good note to end on. Let people know where they can follow you, where they can follow the Bitcoin Berlin project,
Absolutely.
And then, of course, where they can get their tickets for adopting Bitcoin.
So another thing where I forgot to mention for adopting Bitcoin is Nostr is going to have a big presence. I think Nostr is huge. It's very important. There's going to be potentially a Nostr boost. People presenting. SV24 at adoptingbitcoin.org. Check that out. That's where you can get the tickets. That's where you can call for participation. You can see the speakers. You can check out the partner hotels. You can figure out about the logistics and stuff like that. That's really important. You have, in terms of Berlin, well, the best thing for you to do to figure out about Berlin is go to Berlin. But X is also a place you can check out, Bitcoin Berlin SV. For myself, I am known as the natural investor. My aim is to connect money and the soul. The aim is to show people how to invest in line with their own principles. And you can check that out on Twitter and also Instagram if you're interested. I'm trying to do more short form video to get more people in line with that. One thing is stacking your Bitcoin. Another thing is using your Bitcoin and how to use it most effectively for the good of yourself and humanity as well. So that's it. That's awesome. Me, the natural. Thank you, Mike, so much. By the way,
thank you for coming all the way down here. I know it's a haul, so
really appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate it, and looking forward to I'm psyched on the conference now. So, I mean, not for you. You're going to be worn out. I mean, this is a big undertaking. It's
just the start of the stress.
All right, thank you, brother.
Thank you. Always a pleasure.